What's up, go-getters? Welcome to Drive Your Business, the YouTube channel where we make marketing content for entrepreneurs, salespeople, and marketers. My name is Corey Barkach, your host and co-founder of Drive Creative Agency, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about branding tips for the manufacturing industry. Now, being in the Detroit market and being in marketing and advertising, we work with a ton of manufacturing brands. Remember, this is the Motor City, the hub of all that. And with that being said, we've learned a few things about manufacturing marketing since we do it like all the time. And specifically, how important it is to have a brand that people will remember. Now, before getting into shooting videos and doing a cool logo and coming up with an awesome identity and pushing content, it's really important that you start with the basics and identify what makes you unique as a company. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a client for the first time and asked them, hey, why should somebody buy from you? And they all say the same thing. It's usually, oh, we have good customer service. Oh, we're competitive on price. Oh, it's all the same things that everyone else always says. We're full service. That's my favorite one. But what really makes you unique? What value are you really adding to the customer, and why should they choose you as a manufacturer over all the other choices in Detroit and across the country? So for starters, let's try to figure out what are the true benefits and features that you're providing to your customers. For example, listing out all the unique things you do, right? That might be in-house tooling, and you might explain, hey, our in-house tooling saves our customers an average of 25% on their tooling costs. It might be low-run production, right? Hey, we have the ability to create low-run parts for you where we're not having to do it for like a billion different parts, but maybe you're working with like an trying to work with like electric autonomous vehicles and they only need a SKU of like 1,000. We have the ability to do that in a cost-effective manner. Or maybe you have in-house engineering capabilities, right? A lot of these new autonomous and electric vehicle companies, they have great ideas and awesome designs, but at the end of the day, they're really not even manufacturable. So if you have in-house engineering capabilities that can take a design concept and actually turn it into a manufacturable part for your customer, you're adding a ton of value to them. Another way of saying unique features and benefits is really identifying what problem are you solving for your customers. For example, your customer might need to have their parts turned around in a time manner that might seem crazy to other companies. For example, 24 to 48 hours. If you're able to solve that for your customer, it's very important to promote that and put it in the top of your category of what you guys do as a company. You might have an inventory bay with custom parts that are near finished, right? That your customers can order from you. They might order these parts and you can turn them around in 24 hours and solve a huge problem for them, right? It could be critical, time-sensitive things where a project won't complete. If you can complete that and do that for your customer, they're gonna love you forever. And you're gonna establish yourself as the company in your industry that can turn around parts faster than anybody. Also, when talking about benefits and features, you wanna figure out if you do anything that your competitors can't do. For example, you might have a unique process that's proprietary to you that allows you to save your customers a ton of time or a ton of money by following your process. So if you truly have things that are really unique that your competitors can't provide, figure out a way to say that to your customers so that's gonna help solve their overall problems. And lastly, what's your promise to your customers, right? When we're talking about features and benefits, there needs to be a promise behind that. For example, you might have the ability in-house to do testing on the parts that you're creating, right? To guarantee to your customers that there will be no breakage in the parts that you're creating. If you can guarantee that these parts won't break, your customer is going to feel very confident doing business with you the first time around, and they might actually even refer you business just based on the fact that you can guarantee no faults on their parts. So think about what promises can you offer your customer that's going to make it attractive and want them to do business with you. And you can go on and figure out more of what makes your services unique. You can do a full SWOT analysis of this. I'm just giving you a really baseline, like, hey, before you start going into the work of creating all the cool content and identity and all that, it's really important as a company and as a brand to identify what really makes your services and products unique and what makes you unique as a company overall and what value you're really adding to your customer. A lot of companies get so caught up in being like, oh, we have the best parts and stuff like that. And it's really about making your customer the hero of your marketing and advertising, right? Telling the story and really pointing out to them like, hey, this is how we solve your problem. This is the value we add to you because your customer is more important than you. So this brings us into our second tip here is developing a strong brand identity. So as definition, your brand identity is your name, your logo, and how that identity of your company is portrayed across all the different medias. So how does it look online? How does it look in print? What does it look like on a vehicle? Where does it look like globally everywhere, right? And having a comprehensive brand identity that matches everywhere can help your business a ton. It was actually noted by Forbes that having a cohesive brand identity across all platforms helps increase sales up to 23%. So branding is not just something where, hey, we can't measure it, we don't know how it looks, whatever. If you have a tight brand, you actually can measure it, and you can look at from your activity from last year's sales and say, okay, last year our brand was kind of all over the place. This year we tightened up our brand identity, and we've noticed over the past year our sales have increased X. So here's some ways to identify if you need to work on your brand identity. Number one, it's really about making sure that your logo is tight and it's modern and it matches today's day and age. I'm not here to call your baby ugly and say you have a bad logo, but it's really easy to kind of look at your own stuff and say, hey, does this look professional? Is this representing me as a brand? Do I feel proud of this? It's a face of our company, or does it need some updates? Remember, what your logo really is, it's a promise to the customers, right? When they see this logo on things, you want to instill confidence and really make them understand that you're a professional organization and that you're the job to get it done. In a lot of cases, the logo is kind of just a first impression of your business, right? It's not the most important thing about your brand, but it is the beginning of that identity for your brand. So you want to make sure that you have a logo that's going to represent your company in the right way. After you're happy with your overall logo, it's important to create a branding guide. Your branding guide is going to include your logo, which goes into the proper usages of the logo, the do's and don'ts of the logo. It's what colors the logo can live on. Are there any alternative color schemes for the logo that are acceptable? And what this is going to do is it's going to set a standard for your logo usage, not only for your company, but for your vendors as well, so that you don't have a logo that's out there floating around. People are using it the wrong way. Maybe you're using it the wrong way internally, and you're creating an identity confusion with all your customers, right? The idea in having this brand guide, at least in the logo section of it, is helping to control the brand and create a long-term brand that people are going to remember, right? The more often people see a consistent brand, the more often they're going to be able to correlate that to your business, and the more often they're going to remember you. For example, look at Ford. You could look at the Ford logo and take the name out and just show the shield, or you could just show a portion of the F in the Ford logo, and you would notice what it is because you've seen that consistently time over time, and it's always the same. Your branding guide's also going to cover the voice and tone of your business, right? It's important that you have a set voice and tone for the company that's consistent around all platforms. Whether that's an authoritative voice, a serious voice, a playful voice, maybe an engineering voice, whatever that voice might be, it's very important that on social media, on your website, publications, PR, press releases, all these kinds of things, that voice is consistent. Your voice is the communication of your brand, and it's very, very important that the voice is consistent, just like your logo being consistent. Your identity guide shall also outline the type of imagery that's going to be used. For example, if you have personnel in your shots, do you want them looking directly on camera and being staged, or is it more important for you that you're trying to set a look of kind of Kodak cool, moving, engaging? So maybe instead of just shooting like this guy straight on in front of a press, maybe it's him, working on a part, designing it, looking real dramatic. Maybe you want a dramatic feel for your imagery, right? It doesn't really matter exactly how you do it, but your imagery should be consistent. I also consider working with maybe just one photographer who has the same equipment all the time so that everything is consistent. Imagery is a big part of the communication of your brand. And I think a lot of people overlook that and just kind of say, hey, I can go on Adobe stock and use whatever picture I want. It's really important to have consistency. Think about your parts too, right? Let's say you're a box manufacturer, right? You're creating packaging for customers. If you're gonna do that, it's really important. Hey, we always have the same backdrop. Whether it's like a white backdrop or a pattern backdrop or whatever, we always shoot our parts on the same backdrop so they look consistent. You just really, really, really want to remain consistent in your imagery. You can also go online and look up some examples of other brands that have created brand guides to borrow some inspiration. There's other things that can be included in your brand guide. I'm just giving you the high level of hey, here's the things that the brand guide kind of consists of, and here's why it's really important to have. Now, lastly, if you have this brand guide created now, more likely than not, there's probably some pieces of your brand out there that aren't matching this guide since it's new. So now it's important for the implementation, right? Reviewing all your signage, reviewing your vehicles, your website, your social media presence, and implementing this new brand guideline across your company globally so that everything matches. Another branding tip for you guys is to use statistics and actual data to represent the great things that you've done as a company and that value that it adds to your customers. Like I said before, anybody can say, we serve the biggest brands, we have a quick turnaround time. For this exercise, we want to get really, really, really specific in the things that you've done. For example, if you work with some of the biggest companies in the world, you might want to say, we have serviced 23 of the 25 top automotive customers in the world. and then showcase those logos of the customers you've worked with, if you're allowed to, right? And be really, really specific about the companies that you've served. This is gonna help overall in pounding that message into people's heads of, hey, this is who we are. People remember specifics. Another thing might be, hey, we can create your parts on time, guaranteed within 24 hours. That's being specific too. Or hey, our in-house tooling saves an average of 26% on your tooling costs for the year. Using these specific measurables for your customers are going to make them understand more of what you do and the overall benefits and values of working with your brand. Now, obviously, it's important that your claims are accurate. If you want to have a customer who's going to be happy, you can't just lie about this stuff. But in all your marketing and in your website and everything, think about that content and just get as specific as you can get. Stop being general. Another great thing you can do to promote your brand is create case studies around your customers. Case studies are basically a way of identifying, hey, this customer came to us for this problem. This is the strategy that we put together. Here's the solution, and this was the end result. So you want to focus on creating case studies around some of your best customers. Maybe they had a really unique need that you solved, and using that as an example for other customers that might have a similar problem that they're looking to be solved. People love to see case studies because it's an actual representation of the work that you performed, and it's a really great way of creating content online and showcasing your overall capabilities. Another great thing about case studies is it's something that can live everywhere, right? It's kind of evergreen content. So you can promote your case study on your websites, you can put them on LinkedIn, maybe you print them out as sales slicks for your sales team. You can put them in your PowerPoint presentations. Maybe you have like a quarterly newsletter that you want to put out, include the case study. But when you create this case study, they take time to create. So don't just have them live in like one place. Like make sure once you create your case study, you have it, and then you're able to spread it through all your marketing. Another thing too is that adding this content to your site can help with your overall SEO. So creating case studies is a great SEO play, and creating that content and adding to your site, because Google's going to see that you're adding this content to your site, and it can help your overall website presence. We actually have a ton of case studies on our own website at drivecreativeagency.com in our work section. If you guys want to check that out, you can feel free to use those kind of as like a template layout for your own case studies. We have like different sections of that help kind of stay in line. I think it's important that you create some kind of template before you create the case studies. So like I said, it might be, this was the customer, this was the problem, this was the strategy, this was the solution, this was the results. Maybe you have 5 sections like that. It's just kind of like a good template, good outline for you guys to write your case studies and promote your brand. And my last branding tip for manufacturing companies is to get video testimonials. Now, getting customer testimonials can be difficult, not because your customers don't have nice things to say about you, but it can kind of be a logistical nightmare, right? Figuring out, hey, where do we shoot this? What day? How do we do it? So I'm gonna kind of break down the way that we do customer testimonials for our clients. That's really worked really, really well. First thing you wanna do is create a list of questions for your customers. We have found in our experience that it is a lot more effective to create, hey, these are the questions that we're going to be asking you, and kind of prep your customer for that testimonial before they come in, versus saying, hey, say exactly this. Remember, you're not hiring paid actors. It's very hard for people to follow a script. It's gonna come off as unnatural. You just wanna prep your customer and say, hey, we're gonna have you in. We're gonna shoot this case study. Here's the questions we're gonna be asking. Just answer it naturally. Remember, you can edit out and change, you don't have to include everything they say. You just wanna document like authenticity, and when people say really great things about you, you just wanna have it come off real. Also, try to coordinate multiple customer testimonials on the same day at your location. Maybe you invite in like 4 or 5 customers, say, hey, we're gonna do the testimonials on this day. I'm glad that you can make it. Please arrive at noon. Maybe you have a lunch there for all your customers. So you got 5 customers there, get them lunch in a separate room. Maybe they're in the conference room. You got a separate room where you're shooting these customer testimonials, and that way they can just eat lunch, hang out. They're all there on the same day, so you don't have to worry about booking like several different days to do all this kind of stuff, because that's gonna cost you a lot more money using a video company, or a lot more time, really, just overall coordinating all that. But get everyone in the same room on the same day, buy them lunch, take your customer in the other room, shoot the testimonial, and just kind of repeat that. Also, it's going to create, an area where your customers are actually going to interact, and who knows, maybe it'll help, strengthen their relationships with you, or it might help them refer other business to each other. Obviously, you don't have a bunch of competitors in the room, but you get what I'm saying. Also, make sure the area that you're shooting is soundproof, right? You don't want to shoot something and hear a helicopter flying by, or a train, or somebody walking in the room and shutting doors. Make sure you have that area blocked off for the day, and let your staff know that nobody is to enter that area. You don't want background noise, and it just won't seem professional. Also, prepare your customers on a dress code. It doesn't have to be super formal. You don't have to wear a tie, but you want everyone to look kind of the same. You don't want one guy walking in, maybe he just got off of a machine and he's all oily, got grease all over his face. and then you got another guy in a Hawaiian shirt and another guy in a suit and tie. Just try to keep it consistent. It's gonna come off a lot better. And lastly, very important, make sure you have a model release form that they sign off on. You can probably go online and go on Google and type in model release forms, or you can pay an attorney to draft one up for you if you're concerned about that. That's totally up to you. I'm not saying one way is better than the other. But you definitely want a model release form. The reason you want that is it waives their rights to basically come after you and sue you for that video at a later date. It basically just gives you all rights to use that video however you see fit. So in case you lose that customer in the future or something like that, and they say, hey, we found this video on LinkedIn, you need to take it off right now, we're suing you, they just can't come after you for some kind of seizure like that. You just want to protect yourself. And after you get these testimonials, just like the case studies, it's important to share those everywhere. Put them on your website, put them in your LinkedIn, Facebook, social platforms. Maybe you take these different testimonials and incorporate them on those case study pages that talked about that customer. That'd be a good idea too, right? It's just about creating this content as a branding play and then making sure you're getting in front of everyone. If you just create these videos and nobody sees them, it's just a big waste of time and money. So that's it for now, guys. Obviously, there's a lot of other things you can do on the branding side for the manufacturing industry. These are just a few to get you thinking. I think these are all things that you guys can either do internally, maybe you'll hire an agency for it, but they're definitely things that you could take and do today to start building your brand. If you guys have any questions about manufacturing branding, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do another video if we have any requests for that. You can visit our website at drivecreativeagency.com to get more information on our company. Please do me a favor, like this video, subscribe, share it with your friends. All that kind of stuff really helps us and gives us a reason to keep pushing this content. That's it for now, guys. I'll see you later. Signing out, Corey Barkott, Drive Creative. I'll see you. Bye.